There's something beautifully frustrating about love. It refuses to follow our plans. We mark the dates, set the intentions, and somehow the universe doesn't always deliver when or how we expect. But here's the thing. Love, real, deep, soul-anchored love, isn't about control. It's about noticing. Most of us spend our time searching, scrolling, planning, hoping. But what if the one meant for you is already stepping into your life quietly, patiently, without a grand announcement? God doesn't always drop love in neon lights. More often, it's in the small moments, the conversations that make you feel safe, the presence that brings peace rather than chaos. But here's where it gets real. Are you open to being seen? Love requires vulnerability. It asks us to be real, to show up without the mask, to let someone witness our messy, beautiful, unfiltered self. And that's terrifying, because what if we're too much or not enough? But here's the truth. The right person, the person divinely chosen for you, won't flinch. They won't be scared off by your depths. They'll stay, not because they have to, but because they see you and they choose you. And then there's timing. Oh, timing. We wrestle with it, demand explanations, and wonder why the wait feels endless. But what if the waiting isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? God isn't withholding love. He's aligning it. He's making sure you're ready for a love that won't just excite you, but sustain you. Because there's a difference between someone who fills the space and someone who fits your soul. We live in a world that thrives on control. We plan, strategize, and try to engineer our lives down to the last detail. From career goals to financial milestones, we are conditioned to believe that if we work hard enough, we can make things happen exactly when we want them to. And yet love, the one thing that can shape and transform our lives more than anything else, refuses to follow our carefully laid out plans. How many times have you thought, by this age, I should have found my person? How often have you looked at your life and wondered, what's taking so long? Why hasn't God answered this prayer yet? Maybe you felt the sting of watching others celebrate engagements, weddings, and anniversaries while you remain in a season of waiting. It's hard. It's frustrating. It can feel unfair. But here's the truth. Love is not something we manufacture. It is something we receive. And anything received requires patience. Trusting the process means understanding that love isn't delayed, it's being prepared. Think about how a farmer plants a seed. He doesn't stand over it the next day demanding to see a sprout. He doesn't dig it up in frustration, wondering if it's broken. He trusts the process. He knows that underneath the surface, something is happening, roots are taking hold, life is forming, and in due time, it will grow. The same is true for love. The delay you feel isn't a denial. It's a season where unseen growth is happening within you and within the person meant for you. Trusting the process means believing that God sees the full picture while we only see fragments. It's understanding that the right person at the wrong time is still the wrong person. It's surrendering the illusion of control and embracing the truth that divine timing is never late. It's always precise. But trusting the process doesn't mean passively waiting. It means preparing. It means doing the inner work, healing old wounds, becoming the kind of person who can sustain the love you desire. It means living fully now, finding joy, purpose, and fulfillment in your current season so that when love does arrive, it's an addition, not a rescue. So what if instead of asking, when will love find me, we asked, how can I prepare for the love I desire? What if we shifted from impatience to trust, from striving to surrender? Because when love is truly meant for you, It won't need to be forced. It will arrive, not in your time, but in the perfect time. And when it does, you'll understand why the wait was necessary. We all crave connection. It's wired into our DNA. We long for someone who sees us, truly sees us, not just the curated version we present to the world, but the real, unfiltered, sometimes messy version of who we are. And yet, the greatest paradox of love is this: the very thing we desire, deep, authentic connection, requires something most of us are terrified to offer: vulnerability. It takes immense courage to be seen, to show up without the armor, without the mask, without the perfectly rehearsed answers. Because what if we're too much? What if we're not enough? What if after we open our hearts, we are met with rejection, abandonment, or indifference? The fear of these possibilities keeps so many of us guarded, playing it safe, keeping love at arm's length, even as we yearn for it. But real love, the kind that lasts, the kind that transforms, demands that we be seen. Fully, completely, unapologetically seen. Because love isn't just about finding someone who checks the right boxes. It's about finding someone who embraces the totality of who you are. And how can someone embrace you if you never let them see you? Think about it. When we wear a mask, when we present only the polished, Instagram-ready version of ourselves, we may attract admiration. But admiration is not the same as love. Love is not built on perfection, it's built on truth. If you want a love that's real, you have to be real. But vulnerability is terrifying, isn't it? Because it comes with risk. When we open up, we are exposed. There are no guarantees that the person we reveal ourselves to will handle our hearts with care. But here's the thing, the risk of being seen is far less damaging than the slow, quiet ache of never being known at all. So how do we find the courage to be seen? First, we start with self-acceptance. We cannot offer to others what we have not first given to ourselves. If we constantly judge our own flaws, we will assume others will do the same. But when we accept our imperfections, not as weaknesses, but as part of our story, we begin to believe that we are worthy of love just as we are. Second, we take small steps. Vulnerability doesn't mean opening up to just anyone. It means learning who is safe and offering them small glimpses of our heart. Pay attention to those who listen without judgment, who hold space for your truth, who make you feel safe enough to be yourself. These are the ones who are capable of loving you well. Lastly, we recognize that love is not about finding someone who never hurts us. It's about finding someone who stays, who chooses us even when things get messy. Real love is not about avoiding pain. It's about building trust strong enough to heal together. So I ask you, what would it look like to show up fully as yourself? What would it mean to let someone see the parts of you that you usually keep hidden? I know it's scary, but love, the kind that fills your soul, can only reach you if you are willing to be seen. And when you finally have the courage to be seen, you will know this truth. Love was never about perfection. It was always about presence. We all want love, the kind that feels deep, steady, and safe. But what many of us don't realize is that love isn't just about finding the right person. It's about being ready for them when they come. And that readiness doesn't come from longing or waiting. It comes from healing. Healing isn't just about moving on from a past relationship or getting over heartbreak. It's about going inward, facing the wounds we carry and doing the work to become whole before we ask someone else to love us. It's about recognizing the patterns we repeat, the fears we hold on to, and the beliefs that keep us stuck in cycles of relationships that don't serve us. How often do we say, I just need someone who will love me for who I am? But the real question is, do we love ourselves for who we are? Do we feel worthy of the love we're asking for? Because if we don't, no amount of affection from another person will ever fill that void. Love doesn't heal us. Healing prepares us for love. Think about this. Imagine holding a beautiful, delicate piece of art in your hands. It's rare, valuable, irreplaceable. But if your hands are covered in wounds, holding that piece of art is going to hurt. Not because the art is harmful, but because your wounds make it painful to carry something precious. The same is true for love. If we haven't healed, even something beautiful, something meant for us, can feel heavy, overwhelming, even painful. Healing means doing the deep work of understanding ourselves. It means asking, what pain am I still carrying? What beliefs do I have about love that might be limiting me? Am I emotionally available for the kind of relationship I desire? What parts of me still need attention, care, and self-acceptance? Healing isn't easy. It requires facing truths we've avoided, sitting with uncomfortable emotions, and learning to soothe ourselves instead of expecting someone else to do it for us. But here's the good news. When you commit to healing, you don't just prepare yourself for love. You attract a different kind of love. You stop settling for less than you deserve. You recognize red flags before they become heartbreak. You create a relationship where love isn't about filling a void, but about two whole people coming together, choosing each other, and building something strong. So if you're in a season of waiting, don't just wait. Heal. Do the work now so that when the right person arrives, you're not handing them a job application to fix you, but an invitation to love you fully because you've already done the work to love yourself. And that, more than anything, is what makes love last. We all have a picture in our minds of how love is supposed to look. We imagine a grand entrance, an undeniable spark, a feeling so strong that we just know. From childhood stories to romantic movies, we are taught that love announces itself boldly, that it arrives with fireworks, grand gestures, and certainty. But what if real love doesn't always show up that way? What if it arrives quietly, subtly, in a way we don't expect? The truth is, many people miss the love meant for them, not because it never arrived, but because they didn't recognize it. They were too busy chasing a fantasy, waiting for a feeling they thought they needed, or looking in the wrong direction. They expected a dramatic love story, but love came in a whisper. Maybe the person meant for you isn't the one who sweeps you off your feet in a dizzying romance, but the one who shows up for you consistently. Maybe they don't come wrapped in the exact package you envision, but they bring you peace, safety, and understanding. Maybe love isn't found in someone who makes your heart race with uncertainty, but in someone whose presence makes you feel at home. How often do we dismiss love because it doesn't feel like we tell ourselves it should be more exciting, it should happen faster, I should feel an immediate spark, they should fit the checklist I created years ago. But love, the kind that lasts, isn't always instant. It's built, nurtured, and discovered. It's found in the moments we don't think to label as romantic, the easy conversations, the quiet presence in difficult times, the way someone remembers the little things about you, or the comfort you feel when they simply sit beside you. Think about the unexpected places where love could already be growing in your life. The friend who has always understood you more than anyone else. The person who makes you laugh without even trying. The one who has always been there, waiting patiently for you to notice. The connection that feels natural, effortless, and real, but doesn't match the idea of what you thought love should look like. Love, in its truest form, isn't about chasing or proving. It's about noticing who makes you feel seen, who brings out the best in you, and who chooses you in the small, everyday ways that matter most. So maybe instead of searching for love in the way we've been told it should look, we start paying attention to the way it actually shows up. Because sometimes the greatest love stories aren't the ones we planned, they're the ones we almost missed. We live in a world that tells us everything should happen on our schedule. We set timelines for our careers, our finances, and even our relationships. By a certain age, we expect to have met the right person, fallen in love, and started building a life together. And when that doesn't happen, frustration sets in. We ask, why is it taking so long? Why them and not me? Have I been forgotten? But love, true, deep, lasting love, does not operate on our timeline. It follows divine timing, and divine timing is never late. It is always precise. It unfolds in ways we cannot predict, at moments we least expect, and in ways we don't always understand. The problem is, we often confuse waiting with being forgotten. We see others around us finding love, getting engaged, starting families, and we begin to question if something is wrong with us. But what if the waiting isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? The danger of rushing the process. When we force something before it's time, it rarely lasts. Think of fruit. If you pick it too soon, it won't taste right. If you try to bake bread and take it out of the oven before it's ready, it will collapse. The same is true for love. A relationship that arrives before you're ready or before it's meant to can leave you feeling unfulfilled, drained, or even broken. There is a reason you haven't met the right person yet. There is a reason certain relationships didn't work out. There is a reason why love hasn't settled into your life in the way you expected. Maybe you needed to heal. Maybe you needed to grow. Maybe the person meant for you wasn't ready yet either. Instead of asking, why hasn't it happened yet, ask yourself, what is this waiting season teaching me? How am I being prepared for the love I desire? What can I do to grow into the person I want to be in a relationship? God's timing is about alignment, not delay. If you're praying for love, believe that it's already in motion. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean nothing is happening. The person meant for you is also on their journey, learning, healing, growing, becoming the person who will complement your life in the best way possible. Imagine meeting the love of your life 5 years ago. Would you have been ready? Would they? Maybe not. Maybe you had lessons to learn, wounds to heal, or experiences that shaped you into the person you are today. Timing isn't just about meeting the right person. It's about meeting them at the right time, when both of you are ready to build something strong, healthy, and lasting. Surrendering to the right time, there's peace in surrendering to divine timing. When you stop fighting, stop forcing, stop trying to control what isn't meant to be controlled, you make room for something better than you ever imagined. The right love will not require you to chase it. It will not require you to beg for it. It will not feel like an exhausting game of waiting for someone to choose you. The right love at the right time will feel aligned. It will feel natural. It will arrive without confusion. So if you're in a season of waiting, trust that it's not wasted time. Love is not delayed. It is being divinely orchestrated. And when it arrives, you will understand why it took exactly as long as it did. You will see how every lesson, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer was leading you to something greater than you could have ever planned for yourself, because divine timing is never late. It's always right on time. Love is not something we chase, force, or control. It is something we prepare for, something we open our hearts to, and something we notice when it arrives. When we trust the process, we let go of the pressure to make love happen on our timeline and allow it to unfold in its perfect season. When we have the courage to be seen, we remove the masks and step into relationships as our authentic selves, knowing that the right person will choose us for who we truly are. When we commit to healing, we stop expecting love to fix us and instead become whole on our own, ready to love from a place of abundance rather than lack. And then when we begin to notice the unexpected, we realize that love often arrives in ways we never imagined, through people we might have overlooked, in moments of quiet, steady connection rather than dramatic, fleeting passion. Finally, when we surrender to divine timing, we understand that every delay had a purpose. Every closed door was protection, and every waiting season was a time of preparation. There's something about betrayal that stings in a way few things can. It's not the act itself, it's the fact that you trusted, that you let someone close enough to believe in their words, their presence, their care. And then one day, as if a veil is lifted, you see it. They were never who they pretended to be. And that moment, it breaks you. There's a saying that truth is like oil and water. No matter how much you try to push it down, it will always find a way to the surface. That's the nature of truth. It doesn't stay hidden forever. It doesn't remain buried beneath deception, no matter how carefully someone tries to conceal it. At first, it might seem like some people are getting away with their lies. You might watch them weave stories, manipulate situations, and paint themselves as something they're not. They may even convince the world of their goodness, their loyalty, their sincerity. And for a while, it might seem like the illusion is working. But illusions don't last, because the truth, it has a way of breaking through the cracks. It reveals itself in the small moments, the contradictions, the inconsistencies. It comes through in the way a person's words don't quite match their actions. It's there in the subtle shift of energy when they realize you're starting to see through them. It's in the way they become defensive, the way they try to gaslight you into questioning your own reality, the way they suddenly disappear when they realize they can't control the narrative anymore. And here's the thing, God won't let you stay in the dark forever. When you're meant to see the truth about someone, you will. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in the way you expect, but always at the right time. It might happen through a single moment of clarity where everything suddenly makes sense. Or it might be a slow unraveling where little by little the pieces start falling into place. At first you might resist it. You might try to give them the benefit of the doubt. You might make excuses for them because the truth feels too painful to accept. But deep down, you know. Because truth isn't just something that exists outside of us, it's something we feel. It's that quiet knowing in our gut, the uneasiness we try to shake off, the voice we keep silencing because we don't want to believe what it's telling us. But the more we ignore the truth, the louder it gets. And when it finally rises to the surface, we have to face it. And facing the truth, that's where our freedom begins. Because once we stop clinging to the lie, once we stop pretending that people are who we want them to be instead of who they actually are, we can finally make choices that align with reality. We can set boundaries. We can walk away from what no longer serves us. We can stop wasting our energy trying to hold on to something that was never real to begin with. Yes, the truth can hurt, but it also heals. It sets us free from manipulation, from false hope, from relationships that are built on foundations of deceit. It shows us who truly deserves a place in our lives. So if you're waiting for the truth to reveal itself, trust that it will. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase after it. Just stay still, stay aware, and let God do what he does best. bring everything hidden into the light. We live in a world that teaches us to rely on what we can see, hear, and logically understand. We are encouraged to trust facts, evidence, and reason. And while these things are important, there's something just as powerful, if not more so, our intuition, that quiet voice, that gut feeling, that unshakable knowing deep inside that something is off, even when there's no tangible proof yet. That's not paranoia. That's not overthinking. That's wisdom. That's discernment. That's your intuition trying to protect you. And it is a gift. But here's the challenge. Many of us have been conditioned to doubt it. Maybe we've been told we're being too sensitive, too suspicious, too dramatic. Maybe we've gaslit ourselves into ignoring our own instincts because the truth they were pointing us toward was too painful to face. Maybe we've made excuses for people's behavior, convincing ourselves that we're imagining things, that we're reading too much into a situation, that surely someone we care about wouldn't deceive us. Yet time and time again, we learned the same lesson. Our intuition was right all along. How many times have you looked back and realized that the red flags were there from the start? That your gut had already warned you, but you brushed it off. That the very thing you felt uneasy about was exactly what ended up hurting you. That's because intuition isn't just some random feeling. It's a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. It's the way God whispers to us before we can see the full picture. It's how we pick up on energy shifts, on body language, on the tiny, almost imperceptible cues that tell us when something isn't adding up. And the more we ignore it, the harder the lesson becomes. But the more we trust it, the more we listen to that voice inside us, the easier it becomes to recognize truth from deception. Learning to trust your intuition is like building a muscle. At first, it might feel weak, uncertain, unsteady, but the more you honor it, the stronger it gets. The more you listen to it, the clearer it becomes. The more you act on it, the more confidence you gain in your own ability to discern what is right for you. And let me tell you something important. Real, authentic people will never make you feel like you have to second guess yourself. The right people, the ones who genuinely care about you, will not give you that uneasy feeling in your gut. They will not create confusion. They will not make you question your reality. But the wrong people, the ones who pretend, manipulate, and deceive, they will make you feel something is off, even when they try their hardest to cover it up. And that's where your intuition becomes your greatest ally, because while people can lie with their words, their energy never lies. While they can pretend to be something they're not, your spirit will recognize when something isn't genuine. So if you feel something, don't dismiss it. If your heart feels unsettled around someone, don't ignore it. If something inside you is screaming that a situation isn't right, listen to it. Your intuition is a divine gift. It is meant to guide you, to protect you, to lead you toward truth and away from harm. And the more you embrace it, the less likely you are to be fooled by the ones who pretend. So stop doubting yourself. Stop apologizing for your discernment. Stop silencing that voice inside you just because the truth it's pointing to is uncomfortable. Because the truth always rises. And your intuition, it sees it long before your eyes ever do. Loss is one of the hardest things we experience as human beings. Whether it's the end of a relationship, the betrayal of a friend, or the sudden realization that someone was never who we thought they were, loss shakes us. It leaves us feeling empty, confused, maybe even broken. But here's the truth most people don't talk about. Loss is often the beginning of something greater. When someone walks away, when a relationship falls apart, when God removes someone from your life, it's not always a tragedy. It's often a rescue. At first, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like abandonment, like rejection, like failure. It feels like something was taken from you that you weren't ready to let go of. But what if I told you that what looks like a loss is actually liberation? What if I told you that the things we try so desperately to hold on to are often the very things that are holding us back? Because here's the thing, when we're attached to something, especially something unhealthy, we don't always see it for what it really is. We see what we want it to be. We see potential, we see memories, we see hope. But just because we want something to be right doesn't mean it actually is. And sometimes when we refuse to walk away from something that's no longer serving us, God does the walking for us. That friend who suddenly stops calling, that relationship that just won't seem to work no matter how hard you try, that opportunity that slipped through your fingers, you might think you lost something important, but what if you were actually set free? Think about it. How many times have you begged for something to stay, only to look back later and realize you were better off without it? How many times have you cried over someone leaving, only to later understand that their presence was draining you? How many times have you fought to keep something in your life, only to later recognize that it was blocking something better from coming in? We don't always recognize the cage we're in until we're forced out of it. When someone exits your life, it's easy to see it as a loss. But what if it's actually protection? What if it's God removing what is fake, what is toxic, what is small, to make room for what is real, what is healing, what is greater? Liberation doesn't always come in the form of a big, beautiful moment. Sometimes it comes in the form of heartbreak. Sometimes it comes in the form of being forced to let go. Sometimes it comes in the form of sitting in the wreckage of what you thought was meant for you, only to realize later that it wasn't. And yes, it's painful. Yes, it's confusing. Yes, it will test you. But one day, when you look back, you'll see it for what it was, a door that needed to close so the right one could open. You'll realize that the pain wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to redirect you. You'll understand that losing the wrong people made space for the right ones. For a while, you might find yourself surrounded by people who like the version of you that they understand, the version that doesn't challenge them, the version that doesn't make waves. But deep down, you know it's exhausting to maintain an identity that isn't fully yours. It's draining to silence parts of yourself just to make others stay. And the truth is, when you hide your real self, you attract people who aren't meant for you. But the moment you start living in full authenticity, when you drop the mask, when you stop performing, when you refuse to be anything other than who God created you to be, something shifts. The wrong people fall away, the superficial connections dissolve, the relationships built on pretense start to break apart. And yes, it might feel like loss at first. It might feel like you're suddenly alone, like your circle is shrinking, like the world doesn't quite know what to do with the real you. But here's what you have to remember. You're not losing, you're filtering. When you show up as your true self, you don't just repel what is fake, you attract what is real. Because authenticity calls to authenticity. The moment you stop pretending, you create space for people who don't need you to pretend. The moment you start speaking your truth, you open the door for those who value honesty over convenience. The moment you stop bending to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, you make room for the spaces that are. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how freeing it feels to be around people who just get you? People with whom you don't have to explain yourself, tone yourself down, or prove your worth? That's because those connections are rooted in something deeper than appearances. They're rooted in truth. Have you ever felt drained after spending time with people who only like a certain version of you? The ones who pull away when you grow, who resist when you change, who only stick around when it's easy. That's because those relationships were never built on authenticity. They were built on expectation. Have you ever experienced the relief of finally being seen for who you are? Not for what you can offer, not for how well you fit into someone else's mold, but simply because you are you? That's the power of authenticity. And the beautiful thing is, when you start walking in that truth, you start to attract people who are walking in it too. People who don't need you to be perfect. People who value depth over performance. People who recognize the beauty in imperfection because they too are done pretending. At first, it hurts, it shakes you, it disrupts the story you've been telling yourself about someone, about a relationship, about a situation you thought you understood. The moment you realize that someone wasn't who you believed them to be, or that an environment you trusted was actually toxic, or that you were giving your heart to something false, it feels like the ground beneath you is breaking. But here's what most people don't realize, that breaking is where the healing begins. Because as painful as it is to see the truth, it is far more dangerous to live in a lie. Revelation is a gift, even when it doesn't feel like one. When God reveals something to you, whether it's someone's true character, a hidden intention, or a reality you were blind to, it's not to destroy you, it's to free you. It's to protect you. It's to pull you out of something that was never meant to hold you in the first place. But here's the thing, healing doesn't happen in the avoiding. You can't heal from what you refuse to acknowledge. You can't move forward if you won't face the truth of what actually happened. And so often, when we get a glimpse of reality, when the mask slips, when the real nature of a person or situation is exposed, we don't want to accept it. We want to rewrite it. We want to soften it, rationalize it, turn it into something that feels less painful. Because if we accept it, that means change. That means letting go. That means grieving the version of the story we once believed. That means admitting that what we were holding on to wasn't what we thought it was. And that is hard. But the truth is, avoiding reality only extends the pain. The longer you fight against what has already been revealed, the longer you stay stuck. But when you surrender to the truth, when you allow yourself to fully see it, even if it hurts, that's when healing begins. Because revelation allows you to reclaim your power. It shows you what was real and what wasn't. It helps you understand what you need to release. It forces you to stop living in illusion and start walking in clarity. And clarity, that's where peace is found. Yes, it's painful to learn that someone was never as loyal as they claimed. Yes, it stings to realize that some people only kept you around for what you could offer them. Yes, it's heartbreaking to admit that you ignored red flags because you wanted so badly to believe in the good. But once you see it, once you truly, undeniably know the truth, there's no more confusion. There's no more second guessing. There's no more wasting your energy trying to fix what was never real to begin with. And that's where healing happens. Healing happens when you stop romanticizing people who hurt you. Healing happens when you stop making excuses for behaviors that drained you. Healing happens when you stop waiting for an apology that may never come. Healing happens when you stop hoping they'll change and start accepting that they already showed you who they are. And the most beautiful part, when the truth sets you free, it also makes room for better things to come. Because once you're no longer tied to what was false, you're open to what is real. Once you stop clinging to people who weren't meant for you, the right people find their way in. Once you release the illusion, you start attracting what is genuine. And that's why healing is in the revelation, not in the covering up, not in the running away from the truth, but in the facing of it. So if you're in a season where things are being revealed to you, if you're seeing people's true colors, if you're learning things that break your heart, if the illusions are starting to shatter, know this, it's not happening to hurt you. It's happening to heal you. Let the truth do its work. Let it clear out what needs to go. Let it open the door to something greater. Because once you see things as they truly are, you can finally start building a life on a foundation that won't crumble. Yes, it hurts to lose what you once thought was real. It stings to see people for who they truly are. It's unsettling to realize that some situations were never meant to last. But every revelation, every loss, every moment of clarity is not meant to break you. It's meant to free you. Because loss can be liberation. When the wrong people walk away, when doors close, when the truth reveals itself, you are not being abandoned. You are being aligned. You are being guided towards something better. You are being pulled out of deception and into truth. And your intuition, it was trying to tell you all along. So trust it. Stop apologizing for what you know in your spirit. Stop ignoring red flags just because you wish they were green. Stop fearing the ending of what was never meant to be permanent. The moment you start honoring what you feel, you begin attracting what is real. Authenticity calls to authenticity. Truth calls to truth. And the more you step into your own truth, the more you will attract people and experiences that match your worth, not your wounds. So if things are falling apart, let them. If people are revealing their true colors, believe them. If God is clearing the path, trust that it's leading to something greater. Because healing is not found in pretending and avoiding and holding on to illusions. Hello, everyone. There's something almost magical about quiet resilience, about moving with purpose, even when no one's watching. When we think about grinding hard in silence, we're talking about the heart of self-discipline, the kind that doesn't require applause or a crowd, only a deep sense of commitment and authenticity. This idea of putting in the work when no one sees is as much about trust in yourself as it is about building resilience and courage. Let's explore 6 guiding principles to hey, when we talk about private progress, we're talking about an inner journey that's not meant to be shared until it's truly ready. Progress in silence is deeply personal. It's unfiltered by outside opinions, uninterrupted by the need for validation. In a world that constantly demands updates, pictures, and proof of progress, this path feels counterintuitive, but that's precisely where its strength lies. Private progress is about staying close to the process. It means you're not performing or proving anything to anyone, but focusing on the small, consistent steps that make up genuine growth. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. It's working hard to grow roots, to become strong long before it ever pushes through the surface. No one sees its effort, yet that underground work is crucial. Similarly, when you're working in silence, you're building the foundation that will support you when you're finally ready to shine. Sometimes sharing too soon can dilute the experience. It's easy to be swayed by others' opinions, both positive and negative. Early praise can make us complacent, while criticism can make us doubt ourselves. But when you keep your progress private, you protect yourself from external noise. This is the part of the journey that allows you to hear your own voice the clearest. You become your own source of motivation, learning to trust your intuition and to find satisfaction in each step, regardless of how small it may seem. Embracing private progress also lets you adjust and course correct without judgment. You can experiment, learn, and even fail quietly. This freedom to fail and try again in silence creates resilience, allowing you to take risks you might not take if the world were watching. Each mistake becomes a teacher, each quiet victory a source of strength, reinforcing your purpose and reinforcing your determination. And let's not forget the pride that comes from building something in secret. The beauty of private progress is that it's yours. There's no pressure to meet anyone's expectations but your own. The steps forward, the setbacks, and the lessons are all part of a sacred space where you're allowed to grow without interruption. You're building a legacy that only you can understand, that reflects your values and dreams, not those imposed by others. So keep some of your progress private. Cherish those moments of unseen effort. Embrace the small, personal victories along the way. Know that by working in silence, you're developing a strength, a resilience, and a confidence that no one can take from you. When the time is right, your progress will speak for itself, revealing not only what you've achieved, but also the quiet determination that got you there. When we choose to work in silence, we're making a powerful statement about where we find our worth. Silence, in many ways, is an ally in developing self-worth because it gives us the space to connect with who we truly are, without the distractions of external opinions, judgments, or praise. In this silence, we learn to rely on our internal compass, a compass that directs us toward our goals based on our values and not the shifting standards of those around us. Working without needing applause or approval is a process that builds strength from the inside out. It's tempting to share every accomplishment, to seek the nods, the likes, and the validation that seem to validate our effort. But true self-worth doesn't need to be paraded around. It's a quiet strength that grows as we commit to our goals for their own sake. This silence challenges us to evaluate our motivations. Are we pursuing our dreams because they are truly ours, or are we shaped by the expectations and reactions of others? Silence clears the way for this clarity. In silence, we find out that our sense of self-worth becomes our greatest resource. When there's no audience, no social feedback loop, we're left with only our honest thoughts and the weight of our aspirations. This solitude allows us to listen deeply to ourselves and to confront any self-doubt or fear that might be holding us back. Without the pressure of living up to someone else's standards, we find the courage to set our own standards. We learn to see ourselves as the person who deserves success and fulfillment, not because someone else says so, but because we believe it. Choosing silence over approval is about reclaiming control of our journey. It's about creating boundaries that protect us from relying on external validation for happiness or motivation. When we validate ourselves, it's no longer about what others think or say, it's about how we perceive ourselves and the pride we take in each quiet step forward. This type of self-worth isn't conditional. It's not dependent on whether the world approves or acknowledges our achievements. It becomes an unshakable foundation, immune to criticism or applause. Silence gives us the courage to embrace imperfections, to celebrate the small, private victories that only we know about. When we grind in silence, every effort becomes sacred because it's a reflection of our character, our persistence, and our passion. And we learn that we're enough, even when no one else sees the journey. Our self-worth becomes intertwined with the integrity and dedication we bring to our work, regardless of recognition. Ultimately, self-worth born from silence creates a lasting confidence. It allows us to walk into any situation knowing that we have nothing to prove, that our value isn't tied to anyone else's approval. We are free to fully inhabit our own story, to live authentically and unapologetically. When we cultivate this self-worth in silence, we carry within us a quiet, resilient assurance that speaks louder than any words could. And in time, this inner confidence becomes the foundation on which we build our lives rich with purpose, immune to the fleeting need for external validation, and deeply, powerfully ours. Keeping the journey sacred is about recognizing that there's a part of your path that deserves to be protected, cherished, and yes, even hidden from the world. It's understanding that every journey has moments that are meant to be yours alone, untouched by outside expectations, distractions, or judgments. This sacredness is not about secrecy, it's about preserving the purity and integrity of the process, allowing it to grow without interruption. When you keep your journey sacred, you're giving yourself the gift of an uninterrupted focus, a chance to stay close to what truly matters. In a world where we're constantly sharing every moment, every step forward, keeping parts of your journey to yourself becomes a radical act of self-respect. It means you understand that there's beauty in allowing things to unfold privately, giving yourself the freedom to experience, learn, and grow without external validation. This space allows you to connect deeply with your purpose, holding onto the reason you started this journey in the first place. Think of the sacred journey as a personal sanctuary, where you can experience both the triumphs and the setbacks with full authenticity. When you're on a sacred path, there's no need to explain your motives or justify your choices to anyone. You have the liberty to make mistakes, to experiment, and to pivot without the weight of external opinions shaping your next move. This freedom brings with it a profound peace, a sense of quiet determination that builds resilience and focus. In this sacred space, you're free to be vulnerable and honest with yourself, and this honesty is what fuels genuine growth. By keeping the journey sacred, you also cultivate a deep respect for your own work. When you're not constantly seeking input or approval, you start to trust yourself more. You begin to listen to your own inner voice rather than the voices of those who might not fully understand your vision. This doesn't mean disregarding advice from those you trust, but rather discerning who and what deserves to influence your journey. Keeping it sacred gives you the confidence to take charge of your path, to make choices that align with your values, and to avoid compromises that could dilute the essence of what you're creating. There's also a unique beauty in allowing your journey to reveal itself in its own time. When we share too soon or too often, we risk exposing our journey before it's ready, inviting feedback or criticism that can cloud our sense of direction. The sacred journey grows at its own pace, and by honoring that pace, you let your work ripen fully before the world ever sees it. When you eventually do share the fruits of your labor, they carry with them the strength and clarity that only a deeply personal journey can produce. Keeping the journey sacred is an invitation to remember that not every victory needs an audience, and not every setback needs a consolation. Some of the most transformative moments in your journey are meant to be yours alone. They shape you quietly, building strength, character, and wisdom that don't require applause. These moments are sacred because they are where you learn who you really are and what you're capable of achieving when no one else is watching. Ultimately, to keep the journey sacred is to honor the trust you place in yourself. You're nurturing a journey that is uniquely yours, one that will unfold in its time and in its way. When you keep it sacred, you're protecting the heart of your purpose and building something resilient, authentic, and lasting. In the end, this quiet respect for your journey is what allows it to shine, not because it was broadcasted to the world, but because it was built on a foundation of unwavering commitment and self-belief. Resilience is forged in those quiet, unseen moments, the ones where no one is watching, where there's no applause, no encouragement, and often no immediate reward. It's in the quiet that we face the rawest parts of ourselves, our doubts, fears, and frustrations. When we work in silence, away from the spotlight, we're left to rely entirely on our inner strength. These moments, though sometimes challenging, are when resilience is cultivated the most profoundly. In silence, there's no crowd to cheer us on, but that absence becomes a strength. We learn to motivate ourselves, to press on not because of others' expectations or opinions, but because we've committed to seeing our journey through. The quiet spaces are where we confront the parts of ourselves that want to give up or spin our mistakes into stories. Here, we learn to see failure as part of the journey rather than the end of it. Without external noise, we can identify the lessons hidden in setbacks, understanding that these moments are the stepping stones to a stronger, more resilient version of ourselves. When there's no audience, we allow ourselves to feel the sting of disappointment fully and then choose to get back up, wiser and better prepared for the road ahead. Resilience in the quiet means learning to embrace the process without needing immediate results. This means being patient and trusting that the work we're doing will pay off in its own time. It's a powerful shift to realize that true resilience doesn't come from recognition, but from a sustained commitment to ourselves and our goals. The quiet is where we remind ourselves that progress isn't always visible. That growth often happens beneath the surface, just as a tree grows its roots deep into the ground long before it reaches the sky. This understanding allows us to embrace the process, to keep going even when it feels like nothing is happening. In reality, everything is happening. We are being fortified, strengthened from within, and building a foundation for future success that no one can take away. There's a freedom in the quiet moments that allows us to go at our own pace, to find a rhythm that works for us rather than what's expected. In this space, we can take the time to develop skills, strengthen our mindset, and understand our purpose without the pressures of comparison or competition. Resilience becomes a personal journey, not a performance, and this makes it even stronger. We don't need to prove our strength to anyone else. We simply need to show up for ourselves. Again and again, learning to trust that each small effort, each day of quiet progress, is building something greater than we may yet realize. Trusting the process is an act of faith in ourselves, in our efforts, and in the journey we've chosen. It's about letting go of the need to rush to the finish line, the desire for immediate recognition, and the lure of the spotlight. When we place our trust in the process, we're choosing substance over speed, quality over quick results, and true mastery over fleeting praise. The spotlight can be alluring. It offers validation and admiration, but these things are often temporary and conditional. The process, on the other hand, is what builds us up from the inside out, piece by piece, lesson by lesson. The process is where real growth occurs. Every step, every stumble, every quiet triumph is a part of the story that's shaping us into who we need to be to reach our goals. In this process, we're not only building skills, we're building character, resilience, and a deep understanding of our purpose. When we trust the process, we're not looking for shortcuts or quick fixes. Instead, we're committing to doing the work fully, no matter how long it takes, understanding that each part of the journey has a lesson we can't afford to skip. These lessons, while sometimes challenging or uncomfortable, become the foundation of our future success and the core of who we are becoming. Trusting the process also means accepting the invisible nature of much of our progress. Often we can't see the results of our efforts right away. Growth can feel slow, even invisible at times, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Just as a plant takes time to grow roots underground before it can bloom, our journey requires time and patience. The process teaches us to be patient with ourselves, to understand that real transformation doesn't happen overnight. Each effort, every single moment spent working toward our goal, is adding up quietly, creating a depth and stability that the spotlight alone could never provide. In the process, we learn to focus on the things that matter most: consistency, discipline, and commitment. These are qualities that are rarely glamorous, but are absolutely essential for long-term success. When we trust the process, we stop seeking instant gratification and instead find joy in the daily work itself. It's here that we develop a quiet, steady confidence, one that doesn't need to be paraded in the spotlight, but is undeniable in its strength. We come to understand that the journey itself is meaningful, that each day we're becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. Choosing the process over the spotlight also shields us from the distractions that can come with seeking external validation. The spotlight can be fickle, shifting from person to person to person, story to story. By rooting ourselves in the process, we are not swayed by these changes. We find our motivation within, becoming resilient to the ups and downs of public opinion. This focus on the process builds a sense of purpose that transcends the fleeting nature of recognition, allowing us to stay grounded and committed even when progress feels slow or invisible. The process becomes a source of pride and a personal benchmark for how far we've come, regardless of whether anyone else sees or acknowledges it. The spotlight may fade, applause may die down, and external validation may shift, but the growth we achieve through the process remains ours forever. Each step taken in silence, each moment of dedication becomes a part of us, something that can't be taken away, forgotten, or overshadowed by anyone else's journey. The process, in its slow and steady way, reveals to us who we are and what we're truly capable of achieving. When we grind hard in silence, we allow our results to become the ultimate proof of our commitment, our resilience, and our growth. There's a unique power in letting outcomes speak, unembellished by words or explanations and unfiltered by the need for approval. When results emerge on their own, they tell a story that no amount of talking or seeking validation ever could. The results don't need to be advertised or justified. They hold a quiet, undeniable strength that resonates with others, precisely because they are the fruits of consistent, often unseen effort. Letting the results speak means trusting that everything we've invested will eventually yield something tangible and real. It's about releasing the pressure to explain our journey or validate our choices as we go along. Instead, we allow the work we've done, the sacrifices we've made, and the growth we've experienced to become evident in ways that can't be faked or hurried. The results that come from hard, silent work aren't fleeting. They are grounded in a process that is solid, steady, and enduring. These results carry a weight and a value that resonate on their own, a quiet confidence that communicates our dedication without a single word. This approach removes the distractions and noise that can often accompany the journey. Rather than worrying about others' opinions or constantly sharing every small achievement, we stay focused on our own path, trusting that when the time comes, the results will speak in ways we never could. There's freedom in not needing to convince others of our progress. By choosing silence, we cultivate a deep trust in our journey, learning that we don't need validation at every turn. When the results appear, they have an authenticity that's undeniable, a power that others can see and feel because it's real. When results speak for themselves, they do so without bias or embellishment. They show the world exactly what we've been working on, not through promises or predictions, but through tangible accomplishments. This allows us to stand firm, knowing that our work speaks for itself. And when these results are born from consistency, discipline, and sacrifice, they reflect not only the goal achieved, but also the person we have become in the process. It's a powerful thing to let outcomes demonstrate our worth and dedication, leaving no room for questions or doubts. Results achieved quietly through hard work stand as a testament to our journey, a testament that needs no further explanation. Moreover, results that speak for themselves create a ripple effect that can inspire others. When people witness the outcomes of silent dedication, they see the power of quiet perseverance, understanding that true growth doesn't need to be loudly announced to be deeply impactful. These results are a reminder that there's strength in focusing on our own journey, honoring the work, and allowing the achievements to emerge naturally over time. We don't just set an example, we show that meaningful success doesn't rely on external validation, but on the power of consistent, unwavering effort. In the end, grinding hard in silence is about choosing the path of quiet resilience, self-discovery, and steady growth. It's about letting go of the need for constant validation, for the spotlight, and for quick rewards. Instead, it's a journey where we trust our process, embrace the power of private progress, and stay focused on our goals without distraction. When we work in silence, we learn to rely on our own strength, to find our worth within, and to honor the journey rather than rush to the destination. We build resilience in those quiet moments, developing a deep-rooted confidence that no one can take away. And when the time is right, our results will speak with an impact that words cannot capture, inspiring others and proving to ourselves that the effort, the patience, and the perseverance were all worth it. So let us embrace the silence, trust the process, and move forward with quiet determination, knowing that each step brings us closer to the purpose we're here to fulfill. We don't need to shout our progress from the rooftops our journey, and the results will do that for us in their own perfect time. Help us grind in silence, keep our heads down, and find strength in our work without the need for validation. Good day, everyone. Today, let's take a journey into what it means to truly attract success, not just achieve it or stumble upon it, but to actively draw it toward ourselves. When we talk about success, we often picture milestones, titles, or accolades. Yet, if we peel back the layers of any significant accomplishment, we'll find that it's built on a foundation of habits. These are the patterns we weave daily, almost instinctively, that make us who we are and shape where we're headed. Success is not some faraway destination. It's woven through our everyday in the seemingly small decisions, the subtle shifts in perspective, and the courage to keep showing up. Real success, the kind that brings a deep, enduring sense of fulfillment, isn't achieved overnight or through shortcuts. It's cultivated through the consistent, quiet work of aligning our habits with our highest aspirations. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. In a world that values strength, confidence, and certainty, vulnerability can feel like something to be hidden, guarded, or avoided altogether. However, if we take a closer look, vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a profound source of strength. When we choose to show up vulnerably, we open ourselves up to new opportunities, deeper connections, and the courage to go after what truly matters to us. Vulnerability is the courage to be seen for who we are, without the masks, without pretending. It's standing in the middle of uncertainty, without knowing the outcome, and still moving forward. The truth is, the people who achieve the greatest success are often those who embrace vulnerability. They are the ones who are willing to risk being wrong, to try something new, to face rejection, and to keep showing up even when the path is unclear. Imagine what it would look like if you embraced vulnerability as a way of life. It's showing up to a new opportunity, even when doubts linger in your mind. It's saying yes to a challenge, even though you fear failure. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you start to see that it isn't the armor you wear that makes you strong, it's your willingness to take the armor off, to let others see the real you, and to trust that who you are is enough. That kind of openness is magnetic. It draws others towards you because vulnerability invites connection. When people see that you are willing to be open, to take risks, and to be honest about your journey, they feel a sense of trust and authenticity that's hard to resist. In a professional sense, vulnerability is the willingness to share your ideas, even when you're uncertain of how they'll be received. It's admitting when you don't have all the answers, yet being willing to ask questions, to learn, and to grow. In relationships, vulnerability means sharing your thoughts and feelings even when it feels uncomfortable. It's being open about your dreams and fears, knowing that true connection only comes when we are willing to be real. Why does vulnerability attract success? Because people are drawn to those who are authentic. In a world where so many hide behind perfectionism or project of a facade, true vulnerability stands out. It's refreshing, it's real, and it's relatable. When you let others see who you are, you inspire them to do the same. This openness creates a foundation of trust, respect, and connection, which are crucial for any success that is meaningful and lasting. Vulnerability also nurtures resilience. When you open yourself to the world, you'll inevitably encounter rejection, setbacks, and even failures. Yet by embracing vulnerability, you learn to see these experiences as part of the journey. Each stumble, each moment of doubt becomes an opportunity to grow stronger, to refine your vision, and to keep moving forward. Instead of letting the fear of failure hold you back, vulnerability empowers you to keep going, to get back up, and to try again. Furthermore, embracing vulnerability changes how you view challenges. Instead of shying away from difficulties, you lean in, knowing that growth often lies on the other side of discomfort. Vulnerability teaches us that we don't have to have everything figured out to take the next step. It reminds us that being open, curious, and willing is often more valuable than any degree of preparation. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we step into a space of learning and discovery where every experience becomes a teacher. Embracing vulnerability is not about oversharing or exposing ourselves without purpose. It's about letting go of the need for constant control and certainty. It's about showing up as your true self, trusting that who you are is worthy of the success you seek. By doing so, you attract success in a way that is authentic, sustainable, and deeply fulfilling. When vulnerability becomes a habit, it becomes a path to confidence, connection, and courage, qualities that not only draw success into your life, but help you sustain it. So as you step forward, let vulnerability guide you. Embrace the power of showing up, even when it feels uncomfortable, uncertain, or risky. Because at the end of the day, vulnerability is not the absence of strength, it's the presence of courage. And that courage will pave the way for the success that is meant to be yours. Boundaries are powerful tools that allow us to protect our energy, values, and well-being. When we hear the word boundary, we often think of something that keeps others out. But true boundaries are not about isolation, they're about creating a healthy space where we can thrive, grow, and focus on what matters most. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect and self-care, a way of communicating to the world and to ourselves that our time, energy, and priorities are valuable and worth protecting. At its core, cultivating boundaries is about honoring your needs and values. When you set a boundary, you're making a decision to create space for what's important to you, whether that's dedicating time to personal growth, nurturing your relationships, or pursuing a career goal. Boundaries allow us to be intentional with our lives rather than being constantly reactive to the demands and expectations of others. When you're clear about what you will and won't accept, you create a sense of security and focus that's essential for achieving long-term success. Creating boundaries can be challenging, especially if you're used to putting others' needs before your own. But remember, saying no to something that drains your energy is also a way of saying yes to something that nourishes it. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, they're about showing up for yourself first, so that you can fully show up for others in a healthy, sustainable way. For example, if you're constantly saying yes to every request for your time, you may find yourself exhausted, resentful, and unable to give your best. But when you set boundaries around your time, you create the space to rest, recharge, and focus so that when you do say yes, you can be fully present. Boundaries also help us manage stress and prevent burnout. In a world where we are constantly connected, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the demands of work, family, and social obligations. When we fail to set boundaries, we risk overextending ourselves, leading to mental fatigue, stress, and eventually burnout. By setting clear limits on how much time and energy we dedicate to different areas of our lives, we can create a sustainable rhythm that supports our goals and well-being. For instance, setting a boundary around work, such as choosing to end your workday at a certain time, can give you the mental space to relax, recharge, and focus on personal interests or relationships. This balance is essential for long-term success as it ensures that you're not sacrificing your health and happiness in pursuit of your goals. Respecting your own boundaries sends a powerful message to others. When people see that you're willing to protect your time, energy, and values, they're more likely to respect those limits as well. This builds a foundation of mutual respect and clarity in your relationships, which is essential for personal and professional success. Others begin to understand that your no isn't a rejection of them, it's a commitment to yourself. And when people respect your boundaries, it often leads to healthier, more balanced relationships. You'll find that people who genuinely care about you will appreciate your honesty and value the clarity that boundaries provide. Cultivating boundaries also means being willing to face discomfort. Setting boundaries can sometimes be challenging because it involves saying no, standing up for your needs, and occasionally disappointing others. But remember, every time you choose to honor your boundaries, you're reinforcing your self-worth. You're reminding yourself and others that you're committed to living in alignment with your values. Over time, this practice strengthens your self-respect and helps you build a life that's rooted in integrity and purpose. It's important to note that boundaries are not rigid walls. They can shift and evolve as you grow and change. What might be a boundary today could look different tomorrow as your priorities and goals shift. For instance, you may set a boundary around not working weekends to protect your personal time, but as you pursue a big project or goal, you might choose to temporarily adjust this boundary to make room for focused effort. Flexibility is part of healthy boundaries as long as you're making conscious choices rather than simply reacting to outside pressures. A key part of boundary setting is communication. Once you identify your boundaries, it's essential to communicate them openly and honestly. This doesn't mean you have to justify or explain yourself in great detail. Simply being clear and direct is often enough. For example, if you need time for a personal project, you might say, "I'm not available on Saturday because I'm dedicating that day to work on something important to me." Communicating your boundaries sets the expectation that you are honoring your commitments, and it gives others the chance to understand and respect your needs. Clear communication prevents misunderstandings and creates a foundation of trust. Boundaries also help us focus. When you're clear about what you will and won't tolerate in your life, you're less likely to get distracted by things that don't serve your goals. For instance, if you set boundaries around social media usage, you'll find that you have more time and mental clarity to dedicate to activities that are aligned with your purpose. Boundaries enable you to prioritize effectively, allowing you to invest your time and energy into what truly matters, rather than being pulled in a million directions by competing demands. In the end, boundaries are not just barriers, they're bridges to a life that reflects your deepest values and goals. They are acts of self-respect, a way of protecting what is sacred to you. By cultivating boundaries, you create a foundation of clarity, focus, and purpose that attracts the success you seek. And remember, every time you set and honor a boundary, you're not only respecting yourself, you're building a life that aligns with the vision you have for yourself. Self-compassion is the practice of treating ourselves with the same kindness, understanding, and patience that we would offer a dear friend. In a world that constantly pushes us to perform, achieve, and improve, we often become our own harshest critics, judging ourselves for every perceived flaw, failure, or shortcoming. But true success is built not only on discipline and hard work, but also on the ability to treat ourselves with empathy and respect. Fostering a habit of self-compassion is a powerful way to cultivate resilience, boost our mental well-being, and ultimately attract the success we seek in life. Imagine the freedom that comes from allowing yourself to be imperfect. When you foster self-compassion, you acknowledge that mistakes are a natural part of growth and that you are worthy of kindness and understanding regardless of any setbacks. Instead of berating yourself for falling short or comparing yourself to others, self-compassion encourages you to pause, take a breath, and acknowledge your own humanity. It allows you to see yourself as a person who is constantly learning, evolving, and doing their best. This mindset not only eases the weight of perfectionism, but also creates a foundation for a healthier, more sustainable approach to success. One of the greatest benefits of self-compassion is that it helps you recover from failure and setbacks more effectively. When you approach failure with self-criticism, it's easy to fall into a spiral of negative self-talk, which can erode your confidence and make it harder to bounce back. Self-compassion, on the other hand, allows you to view failure as a temporary and normal part of any journey. It doesn't mean you're dismissing responsibility or making excuses. Rather, it means you're allowing yourself to learn from the experience without carrying the weight of guilt or shame. This gentler approach gives you the resilience to get up, adjust your approach, and keep moving forward. self-compassion also transforms the way you view challenges. Instead of seeing them as threats or tests of your worth, self-compassion allows you to see challenges as opportunities for growth. When you're compassionate with yourself, you're more likely to take risks, try new things, and step outside of your comfort zone because you know that even if things don't go perfectly, you won't beat yourself up over it. This inner assurance gives you the courage to pursue big goals and take meaningful steps towards success without the constant fear of falling short. Building a habit of self-compassion also supports mental health. High achievers and driven individuals are often prone to burnout, stress, and anxiety, largely due to the pressure they put on themselves to succeed. When we're constantly pushing ourselves without giving room for rest, mistakes, or self-kindness, we start to feel depleted. Self-compassion is a way to counter this cycle. It invites us to acknowledge our own needs, to give ourselves permission to rest, and to recognize that we are more than our accomplishments. By fostering self-compassion, you create a space where you can replenish your energy and well-being, which are essential for sustaining long-term success. Self-compassion also enhances our relationships with others. When you learn to treat yourself with kindness, you naturally become more empathetic and understanding toward others. This empathy fosters deeper connections and trust, whether in personal or professional settings. People are drawn to those who are genuine and compassionate, and they sense when you have a healthy relationship with yourself. Rather than projecting judgment, frustration, or impatience onto others, you're more likely to approach them with openness and kindness. This ability to connect on a deeper level not only strengthens your relationships, but also creates a network of support and goodwill, which are invaluable for personal and professional success. One of the most powerful aspects of self-compassion is that it empowers you to separate your identity from your achievements. In a culture that often equates worth with productivity, we can fall into the trap of defining ourselves by what we accomplish. However, self-compassion teaches us that we are valuable and worthy irrespective of external outcomes. By cultivating this mindset, you begin to realize that your worth doesn't hinge on any single success or failure. Instead, you come to understand that who you are at your core is enough, and this inner confidence becomes a steady foundation that supports you through all of life's ups and downs. To foster self-compassion, it's important to develop small, consistent practices that remind you of your worth. For instance, when you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk, pause and reframe those thoughts. Replace harsh criticisms with kind affirmations or gentle reminders of your progress. Another practice is to celebrate small victories, acknowledging even the smallest of steps toward your goals. This habit reinforces the idea that every effort counts, and it keeps you focused on growth rather than perfection. Additionally, make time for reflection and self-care. This could mean setting aside moments each day to simply breathe, journal, or express gratitude. These practices are not indulgences, they're investments in your well-being. Self-compassion encourages you to care for yourself as you would a close friend, prioritizing your needs so that you can show up fully and authentically in everything you do. Remember, fostering self-compassion is a journey, not a destination. It takes time to unlearn the habit of self-criticism and replace it with kindness. But every small act of compassion toward yourself reinforces the belief that you are worthy of understanding, forgiveness, and respect. Over time, this mindset becomes part of who you are, allowing you to face life's challenges with resilience and self-assurance. In the pursuit of success, self-compassion is an invaluable ally. It provides the inner strength to keep going, even on difficult days, and the wisdom to know when to rest and recharge. By fostering a habit of self-compassion, you're not only setting yourself up for success, but also building a life that is rich in meaning, fulfillment, and joy. Success, after all, is not just about reaching the top, it's about the way we treat ourselves on the journey. When you practice self-compassion, you create a life that aligns with your values, celebrates your humanity, and embraces the full spectrum of the human experience. And in that, true success is found. Authenticity is one of the most powerful habits you can cultivate on the path to success. It's about showing up as your true self, speaking from your heart, and aligning your actions with your deepest values. Practicing authenticity doesn't mean you'll be perfect or that everyone will agree with you, rather. It means you're committed to being genuine in everything you do. In a world where we're often encouraged to conform or to present a curated version of ourselves, authenticity is a bold choice. Yet, it's one of the most rewarding, freeing, and empowering ways to live. When you choose authenticity, you let go of the need to constantly seek external validation. Instead, you root your worth in who you are, not in who others expect you to be. This is crucial for success because people who are authentic attract genuine connections and opportunities. They are not distracted by pretense or superficial approval. They build trust and respect by consistently being true to themselves. When you're authentic, others sense that you are reliable and sincere. And this creates a foundation of trust in personal and professional relationships. Authenticity draws people to you not because of what you have or what you can do, but because of who you are. Practicing authenticity also strengthens your self-confidence and resilience. When you commit to being true to yourself, you're less affected by criticism or praise. You no longer let others' opinions dictate your self-worth, and you're more likely to stand by your values and decisions, even when it's challenging. This inner resilience is vital for achieving long-term success because you'll inevitably face obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But with authenticity as your guide, you can navigate these challenges with clarity and strength, knowing that you are staying true to your beliefs and goals. Another benefit of authenticity is that it allows you to connect deeply with others. When you show up as your true self, you create a space for others to do the same. Authenticity invites vulnerability and honesty, leading to stronger, more meaningful relationships. People can sense when someone is genuine, and they are more likely to feel safe, respected, and valued in your presence. Whether in friendships, family, or business, these authentic connections provide a support system that enhances your journey toward success. Authenticity fosters an environment where collaboration, loyalty, and mutual respect flourish, allowing you to build a network that is grounded in trust and mutual growth. Living authentically also means embracing your unique strengths and imperfections. In a culture that often emphasizes perfection, authenticity requires the courage to let others see your true self, including your flaws. This doesn't mean ignoring your areas for growth, but it does mean accepting that you are a work in progress. When you own your story, both the highs and the lows, you give yourself permission to be imperfect, to make mistakes, and to learn along the way. Authenticity liberates you from the fear of judgment because you're no longer trying to present a flawless image. Instead, you're focusing on showing up fully, flaws and all. This kind of openness not only strengthens your self-acceptance, but also invites others to relate to you on a real human level. Authenticity also fuels creativity and innovation. When you allow yourself to be guided by your true self, you're more likely to think outside the box, pursue bold ideas, and approach problems from unique perspectives. Authenticity allows you to tap into your natural gifts and passions, leading to work that is not only fulfilling but also impactful. Rather than following trends or imitating others, authentic people pave their own paths. They create from a place of purpose and vision, bringing originality and integrity into their work. In business, this often translates into innovation and a strong personal brand. But one of the most significant aspects of practicing authenticity is that it brings a sense of alignment and fulfillment. When your actions reflect your true values and passions, you feel a sense of harmony within yourself. This alignment creates inner peace and satisfaction that is difficult to achieve when you're constantly trying to meet external expectations or live up to someone else's idea of success. Authenticity allows you to define success on your own terms, based on what truly matters to you. When you're clear about what you stand for and pursue goals that resonate with your core values, you find that your journey becomes more meaningful and the milestones you achieve feel deeply rewarding. Practicing authenticity requires you to be honest, not only with others, but also with yourself. This means regularly checking in with your intentions, asking yourself if you're living in a way that aligns with your values. Are you pursuing goals that genuinely matter to you, or are you chasing someone else's idea of success? Are you making choices based on fear, approval, or the desire to fit in, or are you acting from a place of courage and conviction? These self-reflective questions help you stay grounded in authenticity and ensure that you're living a life that is true to you, not merely performing or conforming. It's important to recognize that practicing authenticity is not always easy. There may be times when being true to yourself means making difficult choices, facing criticism, or standing alone. In those moments, it can be tempting to revert to familiar patterns of conformity or self-doubt. But remember, authenticity is not a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. Each day, you have the opportunity to choose authenticity over comfort, to stand firm in your values, and to let your actions reflect who you truly are. Curiosity is a powerful catalyst for growth, serving as the foundation for discovery, learning, and innovation. In a world that constantly presents new challenges and opportunities, embracing curiosity can be one of the most transformative habits you can develop. When you lean into curiosity, you open yourself to a wealth of knowledge and experiences that can elevate your personal and professional life, making it a key habit that attracts success. At its core, curiosity is about seeking to understand the world around you. It is the innate desire to ask questions, explore possibilities, and delve deeper into topics that pique your interest. This habit begins with a mindset shift, moving from a fixed mindset, where you may feel you already know everything, to a growth mindset, which thrives on the belief that learning is a continuous journey. When you adopt this mindset, you become more open to new ideas and perspectives, recognizing that there is always more to learn. Embracing curiosity requires courage. It means stepping outside your comfort zone and being willing to face the unknown. This can be daunting, as it often involves challenging your own assumptions and beliefs. However, by leaning into curiosity, you give yourself permission to explore uncharted territories, both personally and professionally. Instead of fearing failure or making mistakes, you begin to see these experiences as valuable opportunities for learning. Each stumble becomes a lesson, each setback a stepping stone toward greater understanding and resilience. Curiosity also fosters creativity and innovation. When you approach problems with a curious mindset, you're more likely to think outside the box and consider unconventional solutions. Rather than settling for the status quo, curiosity drives you to ask, what if? And why not this kind of thinking can lead to groundbreaking ideas and new approaches in your work, setting you apart from others in your field. The ability to innovate is often what differentiates successful individuals and organizations from the rest. When you cultivate a habit of curiosity, you create an environment that encourages experimentation and creative thinking, allowing you to discover new paths to success. Moreover, curiosity enhances your ability to connect with others. When you engage with the world through curiosity, you naturally become more interested in the perspectives and experiences of those around you. This opens the door to deeper conversations and more meaningful relationships. Instead of merely hearing what others have to say, you actively listen and seek to understand their viewpoints. This not only enriches your own understanding, but also builds trust and rapport with others. People are drawn to those who are genuinely interested in them, and this can lead to collaborations, partnerships, and friendships that further your journey towards success. In addition to enhancing relationships, curiosity plays a significant role in emotional intelligence. When you are curious about your own emotions and those of others, you develop a deeper awareness of feelings and motivations. This self-awareness allows you to navigate complex social dynamics with greater ease. You become more adept at empathizing with others, understanding their struggles, and responding in a way that fosters connection and support. This emotional insight is invaluable in both personal and professional settings as it helps you build stronger teams, resolve conflicts, and create an environment where everyone feels heard and valued. Cultivating curiosity also promotes a lifelong love of learning. In an ever-changing world, the ability to adapt and grow is essential for success. When you embrace curiosity, you develop a natural inclination to seek knowledge and seek out new experiences. Whether it's reading books, attending workshops, or engaging in conversations with diverse individuals, your hunger for learning will drive you to continually expand your horizons. This thirst for knowledge not only keeps your skills sharp, but also positions you as a thought leader in your field. People are more likely to turn to you for guidance and insight when they see that you are committed to growth and learning. As you cultivate curiosity, it's essential to create an environment that nurtures this habit. This can involve surrounding yourself with other curious individuals, engaging in discussions that challenge your thinking, and exploring new topics that excite you. It may also mean giving yourself permission to explore interests outside your usual scope. For instance, if you're in a specific industry, consider taking classes or attending events in a completely different field. This cross-pollination of ideas can lead to unexpected insights and innovations. Additionally, practice asking open-ended questions, both of yourself and others. Open-ended questions invite deeper exploration and can lead to richer conversations, instead of asking questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no. Encourage dialogue by asking questions that begin with how, what, or why. This not only fosters curiosity in your interactions, but also helps you gain a more profound understanding of the topics that matter to you. Another important aspect of leaning into curiosity is embracing discomfort. As you venture into the unknown, you may encounter uncertainty, confusion, or even frustration. Rather than shying away from these feelings, view them as integral parts of the growth process. When you embrace discomfort, you learn to navigate challenges with resilience and tenacity. Each uncomfortable moment becomes a chance to expand your understanding and develop your skills, ultimately paving the way for greater success. Remember that curiosity is not about having all the answers, it's about the pursuit of knowledge and the willingness to explore. It's perfectly okay to acknowledge that you don't know something and to seek out information or guidance from others. This humility opens the door to collaboration and shared learning, allowing you to tap into the collective wisdom of those around you. As you incorporate curiosity into your daily life, celebrate your discoveries and the joy of learning. Reflect on what you've learned from each experience and consider how these insights can inform your actions and decisions moving forward. When you maintain a curious mindset, you transform challenges into opportunities for growth, making your journey towards success not only rewarding but also enriching. In conclusion, leaning into curiosity is a transformative habit that can profoundly impact your personal and professional growth. By embracing the unknown, asking questions, and seeking new experiences, you cultivate a mindset that thrives on learning and discovery. Curiosity fosters creativity, enhances relationships, and promotes emotional intelligence, positioning you for success in all areas of your life. As you embark on this journey, remember that curiosity is a lifelong practice and adventure that enriches your life and opens doors you never knew existed. Embrace it wholeheartedly and watch as it transforms your path to success into a vibrant tapestry of learning and growth. In our fast-paced world, where big goals often loom large on the horizon, it's easy to overlook the significance of small wins. However, celebrating these incremental achievements is a crucial habit that not only attracts success, but also nurtures our overall well-being. By recognizing and celebrating small victories, we create a positive feedback loop that propels us forward on our journey, instilling motivation, building resilience, and enhancing our sense of fulfillment. To understand the importance of celebrating small wins, we first need to acknowledge the nature of success itself. Success is rarely a singular monumental event. Instead, it is a collection of small steps, decisions, and milestones that contribute to our larger goals. When we embark on a significant journey, whether it's pursuing a career, cultivating a new habit, or embarking on a personal project, we often focus solely on the end result. While having a clear vision of what we want to achieve is vital, it's essential to recognize that the path to that vision is paved with numerous smaller victories. Each of these moments deserves our attention and celebration. Celebrating small wins provides several benefits that can enhance our journey toward success. First and foremost, it boosts our motivation. Achieving a goal, no matter how minor it may seem, generates a sense of accomplishment. When we acknowledge these moments, we reinforce our motivation to continue pursuing our larger objectives. This is particularly important during challenging times when we might feel discouraged or overwhelmed. By taking the time to celebrate even the smallest achievements, we remind ourselves of our progress and reinforce our commitment to our goals. Moreover, recognizing small wins helps to build our confidence. Every time we acknowledge a victory, no matter how small, we validate our efforts and abilities. This sense of self-affirmation bolsters our belief in ourselves, empowering us to tackle even more significant challenges. When we see ourselves making progress, we become more willing to take risks, embrace new opportunities, and push beyond our comfort zones. Celebrating small wins helps cultivate a resilient mindset, one that embraces challenges as stepping stones to greater achievements. In addition to motivation and confidence, celebrating small wins fosters a sense of gratitude and fulfillment. It encourages us to pause and reflect on our journey, appreciating the efforts we've put forth and the progress we've made. This practice of gratitude nurtures a positive mindset, allowing us to savor our experiences rather than rushing past them. By celebrating small victories, we cultivate a greater sense of satisfaction with our lives, enhancing our overall well-being and happiness. Celebrating small wins also helps us to maintain perspective. In the quest for our larger goals, it's easy to become fixated on what we haven't achieved yet, often leading to frustration and disillusionment. By consciously recognizing and celebrating small milestones, we shift our focus from what is lacking to what we have accomplished. This shift in perspective allows us to appreciate the journey, fostering resilience and patience as we continue to pursue our goals. So how can we incorporate the celebration of small wins into our daily lives? The first step is to cultivate awareness. It's essential to be mindful of the progress we make, however small it may seem. This requires us to set clear goals and break them down into manageable steps. By outlining the smaller milestones that lead to our larger objectives, we create a roadmap that makes it easier to recognize our progress along the way. Next, we can establish a system for celebrating these wins. Celebrations can take various forms, from simple acknowledgments to more elaborate rituals. For instance, you might keep a journal to record your achievements, allowing you to reflect on your journey regularly. Each time you accomplish a small goal, write it down and take a moment to appreciate what it took to get there. Alternatively, you could set aside time to share your victories with friends or family, allowing them to celebrate with you. This social aspect can amplify the joy of your achievements and strengthen your connections with others. Another effective way to celebrate small wins is through self-rewards. Treat yourself to something special each time you reach a milestone, whether it's indulging in a favorite snack, taking a relaxing break, or engaging in an activity that brings you joy. By associating your accomplishments with positive experiences, you create a motivational incentive that reinforces the habit of celebrating small wins. Additionally, consider creating a visual representation of your progress. This could be a chart, a vision board, or even a digital tracker that showcases your milestones. Each time you achieve a small goal, mark it on your visual aid. Watching your progress unfold before your eyes can be incredibly motivating and provide a tangible reminder of how far you've come. Furthermore, embrace the power of reflection. Take time to pause and reflect on your journey regularly. Ask yourself questions such as, what have I accomplished lately? What small victories have I achieved? How do I feel about my progress? This practice of reflection allows you to savor your experiences and helps you internalize the significance of each win. As you celebrate your small wins, remember that it's essential to embrace your individuality. What feels like a significant achievement to you may differ from someone else's perspective, and that's perfectly okay. Honor your unique journey and acknowledge what matters most to you. By doing so, you cultivate a sense of authenticity in your celebrations, making them even more meaningful. In conclusion, celebrating small wins is a vital habit that attracts success and enhances our overall well-being. By acknowledging and appreciating our incremental achievements, we boost our motivation, build confidence, foster gratitude, and maintain perspective on our journeys. As you incorporate this practice into your daily life, remember to cultivate awareness, establish celebration systems, and reflect on your progress regularly. Embrace your unique path and honor your small victories, for they are the stepping stones that lead to greater success. In doing so, you not only enrich your own life, but also inspire others to recognize the beauty of their own journeys. Celebrate those wins and watch as they propel you toward the success you seek.